Marta, I realised we had made a mistake.
What is that?
We had not pushed the live stream to live.
Oh.
So now we are live. So we have just spoken.
Hey.
We've just spoken about 2 or 3 minutes, and we've had no output going there. So hopefully this is going out to people now, and people will be tuning in for us. So I'll start again. I've just done all of this bit already, but I'll start again. My name's James Sims. I'm director of the EverLearner Creative My PExam.org. Thank you very much for joining us. Also going to introduce you to my colleague who's with us, Marta, who's over here with us.
Hello.
And Marta is our head of modern foreign languages at the EverLearner, and is also a fellow director of the EverLearner also. So she's going to join us this evening in a bit of a conversation about what we loosely call the future classroom.
Yep.
But that future classroom is in our model. It's in our designation. We've designed it. It's in our ideology and our philosophy. Anyway, what we'd like to do is we can present it and talk about it. That's fine. But we'd like people to interact with us over it. So look, get in touch with us. On Twitter, you can send us a tweet, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. You can also post a chat comment in the YouTube live chat also. Though I wasn't really planning on using that too much, but Twitter's a good place. And if you want to feature on our stream, go to the link in the description of the video, and there's a telephone number there which you can text your question to. And basically, what we're going to do from that point is we're going to call you back, and you can feature here on the live stream. So I'm hoping somebody's brave enough to do that, but ultimately that's up to you. Anyway, Marta, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. The only thing I would say is if they want to, on our Twitter feed, if they want to use the hashtags reimagineED, so reimagined with a big, massive ED at the end, or hashtag live chat, capital live, little one chat for chat, and we will hopefully answer your questions, and it's the way how you can get in touch.
And it's fair to say we need some brave souls to get in touch with us and to give us a call. And look, it's easy to just sit and watch these things, and you're very welcome to do that ultimately. But what we hope people might want to do is they might want to interact with us and to pose a question or two, and to make this somewhat interactive to some degree, so in the future we can build on this and we can develop this so it becomes an interesting and relevant experience for people. But I guess before we do that, we need to introduce people to the basic idea, Marta. I mean, look, why don't you give us the basic concept of what this classroom is about? My background is a PE teacher. Your background is a linguist. What is this about?
I'm in a nutshell, I would say.
Did I put you on the spot there?
You did a little bit, yes. In a nutshell, I would say that what it is about getting the students doing, getting the students learning, getting the students active, and having the teacher as being a coach, a facilitator.
But is it just the same as what we hear a lot of, which is active learning?
No, it's not active learning. Many people understand as active learning as in the moving about, running around, playing games, putting things in boxes, and it's not active learning in that sense. It's active learning in the sense that every single student all the time is actively learning, is learning something, is working towards something, is developing. But
at the same time, right? I mean, at the same rhythm, at the same task, at the same time.
No, not at the same rhythm, at the same task. Everyone is following their rhythm, is working at their own pace. Everyone's got their targets. Everyone knows what they are working towards. Everyone knows what they need to be working on at all times.
So people moving at completely different parts of a course then?
Exactly. That is completely possible, yes.
It reminds me of something I read in a Matt Syed book a few years ago. I'm sure a lot of people have read Bounce who might take part in this session. And he referred to something as the importance of purposeful practice. You can be engaged in the act of doing something, being in the classroom, being taught, whatever. But unless the experiences you're going through are purposeful for you as an individual and just out of the reach, or just at your fingertips reach for you personally, then the practice that you're going through is perhaps not purposeful enough. How would you sort of say this classroom model makes practice purposeful in that sense?
Well, I would say in that respect, it's completely purposeful because every student is working towards towards targets that have been agreed with the teacher. Targets not in the sense of being a C or a 9 or an 8 or a 7 or whatever you want to call it. It's targeted in the sense of okay, by this day, you need to have mastered this, you need to have mastered that, you need to have this knowledge by this date. So, of course, and that's totally personalized. So, everyone in the classroom is therefore working at this, having this experience of working just, of having their objective just far enough so that they can see it, they can almost grasp it, and they have to do that,
What about people working towards target grades? We're giving out worksheets for a C grade student to work towards a C. We're giving out worksheets for an A grade student to work towards an A, right?
No, there's no. I mean, what is a C grade student? What's an A grade student? Or I
Good
suppose
question.
soon to, I suppose now, what is a grade 4, grade 5, grade 7 student? You can't generalize. They're not, students are not letters, students are not numbers, students are individuals, they are people. And, possibly a student with an A grade target, they might have massive holes, in basic things of the subject. That grade of that target it's computer generated, statistically generated. It doesn't know anything about that particular student. So it's not, the targets the teacher sets, they are, they can be completely detached from the number. The number in the target of the student is about, okay, what do you need to work towards? What weaknesses have I spotted? What is it important that you develop before you can move on to acquire the knowledge, or what you need to acquire in order to achieve whatever grade you need to achieve, or basically in order to master the subject.
Yeah, and let's give people an image of this classroom. I wonder if you can just share the computer screen.
Of course.
Number 3, 4, as I see how that looks on the screen. I'm not sure how that's going to go out, but let's give it a go. What we're saying in the classroom that we're arguing for, and it's our design, and we're a little bit biased because we work in this model already, and we know it works already, and it produces an incredibly efficient learning experience for a whole range of people performing at different educational levels in a particular environment. So look, what we've got in this model, I'm not going to move the cursor around too much, but you see in the foreground where you've got the Wi-Fi signal kind of over here, what we've got there is what we call the terminal zone. Students go to that part of the classroom when they have the target of taking an online tutorial, when they have the target of taking an online quiz, and when they have the target of taking really high quality notes from that very high standard online teaching. Now, of course, for us, my PE exam, my Spanish exam, soon to be the EverLearner.com, we have our own model of how this should work. But the point is that teaching is self-paced. It is self-paced. It is essential that it's self-paced. I'm confident there's lots of teachers out there who are better at delivering information in PE than I am in all kinds of different areas. I think I'm as good as the average, at least, but I'm sure there's better. But I am certain that if we have a one-pace-fits-all model where people are receiving the transmission from admittedly a better teacher from the front of the class, one pace fits all, I guarantee that my model that is the transmission in a self-paced, repeatable, available whenever you need it model will trump it in terms of performance. I guarantee it to teachers. We've also got the quiet study space at the back of the classroom there with the green finger or with the white finger on the background. And in that space, what students do, they do traditional exercises where anything that's paper-based, worksheets, note sheets, past paper questions, mark schemes, this kind of thing, that's what they're going to study in that space. And, of course, they do that based on their targets. And so students go there to do quiet study. Thirdly, we have this orange populated area here. This is what we call the play space. Students go freely to this space. And in this space, they're going to manipulate things with their hands. They're going to play. They're going to play games. They're going to compete. They're going to build. They're going to construct. They're going to debate. And finally, in this kind of what looks like a traditional teaching space with a very small number of chairs over here, we've got what we call a small group teaching space. And this is where if a student is stuck on a particular concept or idea, the teacher or the coach is going to give a simple instruction and guidance to that individual specifically, or maybe pair, on that particular content. In other words, it's specifically guided to the diagnostic requirement of that individual. And students move through this space freely in what we call the stock lesson. 6 lessons out of 10 would be like this. 6 out of 10. What for me used to be starter, presentation. It used to be worksheet, past paper question, and then a plenary. Well, now the stock lesson is like this.
Mm-hmm. And then, but then in the area where, in the sort of presentation area, where the teacher, might deliver information to a small group, how would you recommend that happening? Would you say, like what we might understand as the classic, sort of lesson lecture with a PowerPoint presentation and that sort of thing?
No, absolutely not. I can't say strongly enough that what I would consider to be that's small group teaching or individual teaching over there, noisy chair you're sitting on there, Marta. That space needs to be as simplistic as possible. I'm even going to make an argument for bringing chalk back. It should be that simple, because we don't need interactive whiteboards in this classroom. People sometimes accuse us of having an expensive classroom. There's nothing expensive in there. That whiteboard you could probably get down from Costco for 25 quid or maybe less with the pens.
Are we getting some advertising for that?
I may have broken the law there. But the point is that no, what we want to do there is if we're going to do some teaching, it should be focused and targeted where it's needed and focus on intuition. And it also should be a very personal relationship. I actually think presentations depersonalize learning a great deal. This idea of, look, here I'm pointing at a slide. No. Explain that thing. Describe it.
Also made worse by the fact that often is look at what I'm pointing in the slide that I just got up from the TES. I haven't even done that myself.
I don't think we want to judge.
I'm not vilifying. We've all done it. But my point is that often we have to admit that sometimes the resources we present to the students may not be. Of course, because of time pressures, of course, because of many factors, they are maybe, something might look very flashy or whatever, but it might not be the best thing for the students. Sometimes simple, straight to the point, just draw it on the whiteboard, and actually it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, I would even say that things like PowerPoint slides, I've got no issue with Microsoft, with any, whatever. These things are good tools if you need to present something. But if your objective is to develop intuition, then that intuition should be developed from if you look at our video tutorials, for example, both yours and mine, what do they start? They start with a completely blank canvas. We don't have words whooshing in and animated. No, we make no assumptions. We construct it in front of the learner intuitively and developmentally. We start from nothing and we build it into something. And I think that is a great model and metaphor for how that personalized teaching should be done. But you can only do that, of course, if the en masse delivery system is in place, and that's where we'd like to help people through what is now my Spanish exam, my PE exam, later the EverLearner.com. We're looking to help people with those things. I mean, how do you see this in languages, Marta? I mean, how do you see this classroom model working for you guys?
It's a very interesting model. It's an interesting model from the perspective. I think especially for the current or the new GCSE, where the focus has or part of the focus has become spontaneous speaking, spontaneous writing, if such a thing exists. But what I mean by this is writing on the spot without any help, without. I think it on the one hand, I think it's a much better course. It provides much better learning, but it is undeniable that it puts much more pressure on actual lesson time. You have to split it in so many ways because you require all that practice from the 4 skills. And time is precious. And very often something like practicing speaking can be a difficult one, for example, to do it with a teacher and really and really get the students and know what they're doing and make sure they're practicing, they're practicing well and they're taking it seriously enough. And I think, having, for other things as well, but I think this model can really help the languages arena, in the sense that you can have the students working on different things, of course, working harder on those things that are weaknesses, but also it opens up a lot of time to actually devote one-to-one time to practicing speaking, practicing writing, which very often, just having that luxury of sitting next to a student and going through what they're doing.
Yeah. And in the current model, it is a luxury. I think we can all recognise that. If we look at the proportion of time that we spend in one-to-one, for example, how much rapport and personal relationship we build up with learners. And I guess I'm talking about some average classroom model here where we have 20 to 30 learners in a classroom. I'm thinking in that model particularly, in some cases perhaps we're more privileged to be able to have far fewer learners, but I'm talking about in that particular model. And in that particular model, we would argue that the ratio of importance is student to valuable time to a teacher ratio. And we reject the idea that something like the transmission of information and control of a class from the front is a valuable piece of time that would be featured within a well-resourced and well-structured, ideologically designed educational classroom environment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to respond. Is that,
no. I was just listening. No,
Did you zone out?
I completely agree. It is true. And while you were saying this, I was thinking as well that one of the things I find increasingly, maybe I'm just a very boring speaker. Maybe I just bore my students to death. But I do find that if I tell them the same, if I explain them something, I might tell them, talk to them about the importance of doing this or that, and I say to the whole class, okay, I have the impression they're listening. Mm-hmm. Does it go in? More often than not, it doesn't. If I say the same one-to-one, I tell them it makes such a big difference, and I think it's probably that difference of being treated as one more in a mass of people, or being treated as an individual, being spoken directly and having a message that's tailored for you, that is relevant for you. Because it is true that very often in a class we might say things to everyone that maybe they'd only apply to half of them or a quarter of them, because many of them are sitting there thinking, I know this,
Well, there's that classic study that showed that in teacher-paced presentations and teaching episodes, that the pace of the session was targeted at the 23rd percentile learner on average. Now, you might think, okay, 23%, that's almost 1 in 4 learners, that's not too bad, but that's not what that means. It means that in that case, 76% of students on average are going too slow, and 22% of students are going to some degree too fast, and 1% of learner is going at the right pace. That is the impact on average of one pace fits all lecture classroom sessions. So I think that feeds in ideally, and I think that anecdotally what you just said fits that model extremely closely. I'm going to say something strong here, partly because we've got low numbers and people aren't tweeting in. So I'm going to see if I can say something provocative and then people might comment about it. But I want to say this. I do not value any more and in any way, shape or form from the front one pace all transmission of information style teaching and lecturing, whether it involves PowerPoint or anything else, when we are working with learners. There is a relevance to presenting when a presentation is necessary. But in terms of acquiring rote learning knowledge, I'm going to argue that there is, in today, right now, no role in the classroom for the transmission of information from the front to everybody all in one go. That's my view. That's what my experience has been over the last 5 years as I've gradually moved towards that. Okay, slightly militantly in my sense because I was prepared to take a few risks. But it's so clear to me now that what I was doing for years, controlling, releasing resources in batches, teaching one concept once during any one course, it cannot compete anymore with a true blended learning, humanistic learning style. And that's what we're trying to put forward. We're not saying it's an easy journey, by the way, or someone should recklessly do it overnight. But to argue that it's not superior, I mean, I really don't respect that view anymore.
No, but the thing is, though, of course, it will, you were saying it's not going to be an easy journey. No, it's probably not going to be an easy journey because all of us who are into teaching, we've trained to be deliverers of information. We've trained to lecture people. We've trained to speak to the students from the front. Yeah. And of course, we've all done the, make sure the students do more and the teacher doesn't do, we've all been through that. But the training still 2017 is still
Yeah.
you stand in front of the students and you speak to
Well,
them all.
and the standards.
And the standards that must be ticked, yes.
I mean, it's quite concerning to me. No, look, we can't change everything overnight, and I don't think anyone's arguing for that. But it's quite concerning to me that institutionally and systemically, we are still targeting that teacher behaviour through what might be considered the average teacher development or training routine. So what we might loosely call training teachers to plan for delivery, to deliver, and to mark. I mean, with absolute confidence, we can be certain that those behaviours are going to become less and less and less and less significant as we move into the now, never mind the future. Those behaviours are just not going to be relevant or as relevant as they were before. What you said before, I think, is very interesting about the impact a message has. I mean, we could go into verbal persuasion theory on this, and we could look at the nitty-gritty of that. But it's true. If we can deliver a personalised message, it's far more meaningful for the recipient. If we do a global, generic, here it is, mop it up kind of message, then of course that's going to be much, much, much less significant. And I think it's important to say here, we're not judging anyone's teaching. Remember I said before,
no, of course not.
If I judge anyone's teaching, it's my own. I think back to the behaviours I've had over, and I was in the classroom for 16 and a half years. And I look back to my behaviours in probably 11 to 12 of those years, and they were exactly the thing I'm questioning and criticising now. So I only judge myself. I'm just trying to share that experience so that people can, I don't know, to some degree benefit from it, criticise it, comment on it. And that would be nice to think that people would respond. And on that basis, we're still not getting any or many comments. And I saw a friend of ours called Octavian over in Bucharest has made a kind comment, which is really nice. So we'll give you a little shout there, Octavian. Mulțumesc, bună treabă. It's really nice. And I should say, I mean, I don't know if this is going to have any resonance while we're on the language thing. If there are people out there, we're happy to take questions. We're able to take questions this evening. Marta, stop me if I take this too far. But we're able to take questions this evening in Spanish, in Catalan, in French, in English, obviously. German, we have a little go at. Both you and I have studied a bit of German. Mine's a little bit passive at the moment.
I wouldn't have a go. No, mine is completely rusty.
Well, I'm willing to have a go. I'll have a little go. It may well be absolutely disastrous because I speak so. Vielen Dank. I speak so rarely in German, but yeah, certainly if there are people there who are non-native English speakers and would prefer to ask their question in Spanish, Catalan, French, German, perhaps we could take the question and answer in English maybe better. In the others, we can respond in your language.
Yeah. Yeah, and anything else, there's always Google Translate. No, there isn't Google Translate.
There's a bit of a problem in languages.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah,
give us a little insight.
Actually,
I'm going to ask you a different question before I ask you that.
Me.
What do you make of being on TV?
On being on TV.
You're on TV. I mean, loosely speaking, we can say this is. What do you make of it? What do you think of that experience?
Personally, I don't particularly enjoy it. No, I don't mind my voice being heard. I think in terms of like, I wouldn't mind doing radio. Let's put it that way. TV, I struggle with a bit more, but I'm sure it will be something. It's something I'm probably going to get used to.
Yeah,
and I just won't watch it.
I remember when we were kids, like to be on TV, it was like a really special thing. You'd even talk and say, "Oh, so and so was on TV," on some Saturday morning TV show or something like that. And it was like a mass. Today, I don't know anyone who hasn't been on TV. It's kind of TV.
I haven't been on TV. Other than
this is our
now.
TV.
Yeah.
This is our own self-made TV. Is that not straight? You're not happy with the?
I'm straightening it because I've seen it on TV.
So look, we really have to insist that people out there, we'd really be grateful if you guys would start commenting and saying what you'd like to. We've got a few comments coming in, but what we'd like you to start asking us questions. We've got here now. James is just this is actually from Mike Pryor, who's tweeting on our behalf. Now James is just showing off how many languages. Well, I have to say the French I can't contribute much to because my French is horrible. So
you mean terrible?
Terrible. I'm terrible at French, but the Catalan and the Spanish I can definitely contribute to, and I'll have a little go at German if necessary, which I used to speak quite well. I just haven't spoken it for quite a long time. So So yeah, I hope it's not showing off too much. We're kind of proud linguists in this office, I think, Martha. It's
Very
fair
proud
to say.
yes.
So we definitely have a go. Anyway, let's get back into this, Martha. I want to talk about
Yeah.
Google Translate. Tell us the languages
Google
teachers'
Translate.
experience of that.
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes wonder whether Google Translate for languages is the equivalent of the creation of the calculator, or the the invention of the calculator for maths teachers.
Is that accurate? Is it?
I don't know. I wonder. That's a sort of a parallel that I've sort of come up with recently.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose if you're a maths teacher and you're trying to make sure that your students use mental maths, do mental arithmetics, then having a the power of having a calculator around and doing it, sneakily doing it like that, it might be similar. Because at the end of the day, that's what Google Translate does, and it is true that I think Google Translate is an amazing tool. And it's quite an algorithm. It's really useful. It's really we can't how easy it is nowadays to if you come across a website that is in a language that you don't know. You use phenomenal. Google Translate, and suddenly you can get information. It is really useful.
We can translate this question, if you like, which has come from @ptutor on Twitter, and @ptutor, otherwise known as Big Stew. Is asking us, if PowerPoint is gone, what format would you advocate for the terminal area? Well, first of all, I'm not suggesting PowerPoint is gone. I said before, I've got no issue with what a brilliant Microsoft products, of course. What I'm saying is I don't consider one pace fits all, which just tend to happen to include PowerPoint or Prezi or Slides.com or whatever variable. I used to like that label 59, that was good. They went bust. But whoever
wasn't that good then?
It wasn't kind of in that good.
Maybe you were the only user then.
Yeah. But I'm not advocating that any one presentational tool is better than the other. I use PowerPoint, I use Google Slides, I use Prezi, I use Slides.com, but I just use them in a presentational environment. What I'm arguing for is zero en masse, one pace fits all presentation to learners, somehow treating them as if that model of them all learning the same thing at the same rate is acceptable today. And I'm being provocative because I'm trying to get a reaction, but I'm arguing that is not acceptable today. So my model, or my offer, I suppose, is I've recorded all of my teaching. Okay, so in the subject of P, and I've done a couple of things elsewhere as well. Marta, you're in the process of recording all of your teaching in Spanish, and we're looking to branch out into other areas as well. We're suggesting that the teaching should be directed from ideally the best teacher on the planet. I'm not saying I'm that, I'm just the first Wally to do it. We should have the best teacher on the planet available for self-paced tutorials for every learner when they need it specifically. So my point would not be specifically about scrapping PowerPoint, which has its uses. It's about scrapping one-pace-fits-all broadcast lectures to groups of students. So that would be my answer, P. Tutor. And I hope that's a reasonable answer, and I would very much be interested in your response to that.
But also, if I can add something, one of the problems I see with PowerPoint or similar is that I think as a teacher, you run the risk of doing things too quickly, not giving the students enough time to process that information.
Yeah.
It might sound very, like us giving a step back, but if you think about it, when you use a whiteboard and you write things on the board, you are taking your time. The student is looking at how the word is written. And you are showing much more the whole process. There are numerous
studies to suggest that is very helpful for those experiences. Experiencing dyslexia also.
In the languages area, for example, if I've got a sentence on the board and then I'm writing it, I'm handwriting it on the board in Spanish or whatever, doing arrows, it's so much more visual than just having something appear on the screen.
Yeah.
That it has to be more helpful for the student. And of course, you can't personalize a PowerPoint in front of a student when you're explaining something.
No, and there's some great people at presenting. I mean, I've seen some beautiful presentations by teachers.
But if you are, if you've got that student there and you're explaining something to that student, make it personal to that student. Just, do it for show
Yeah.
them and show them how
I
it
mean, I
works.
do think we have to differentiate here between what is the perfectly understandable management of time and resource in finding PowerPoints and using them or creating them and sharing them with people. We understand. I've done it many, many times. But what I think we really have to call out and be honest about is the fact that PowerPoints really rob both the teacher and I'm not whatever Prezi or slide whatever. Rob both the teacher and the learner of the capacity to develop the learning and the communication on a personalized and relevant level to those people. What happens a lot of the time, and I'm sorry if this offends, but what happens a lot of the time is we use that presentation as a crutch that we lean on because it effectively does that job for us. And again, I'm being provocative. I'm saying it deliberate. I shouldn't have to apologize because it's my opinion. In fact, I'm not apologizing. It's my opinion. I believe it. I don't think we should be doing it. Right. We've got a call for Mila Pryor and Mike Pryor. Mila Pryor and Mike Pryor. So we're going to give them a call. And as soon as they pick up, we need you to put the fader up, and we'll see if they come onto the call. So let's see if we can get them on. It's kind of an exciting thing. This is our first ever.
Yes. Ever call.
And we should have Mike on.
Yes.
So if you can put
Brilliant.
that. Hey, Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, man. Good, man. What's going on?
I live.
How's Mila doing?
Yeah, she's good.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
She's all right.
Can you-
She's enjoying all the voices.
Yes.
Can you hear us okay?
Has she got a question?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Can you hear me?
What? Yeah, we can hear you well, mate.
Good.
What does Mila
Well,
want to know?
good. What do I want to know?
What does Mila want to know?
Oh, what does Mila want to know? Mila wants to know. She is currently 14 weeks old. So when she attends school in 10 years' time, what's her classroom going to look like?
Ooh, interesting. So look, I'll have a go at that first, Marta. Feel free to jump in at any point. And Mike, what we're going to do is we're just going to turn your audio down for a moment.
Yeah.
We'll put it back on for you shortly, okay? So
Yeah.
I mean, my answer to that would be that the environment will be completely self-paced and the learning will be directed and paced by the learner themselves. If I have anything to do with it, the learner will be preparing and moving through their own journey of very, very rigorous self-paced learning experiences, supported by absolutely magnificent master teachers and junior teachers, often who work within the same space.
If I can say something is I can say something, but what I was thinking about is that she will probably Mila, whatever.
I've just seen the photo of Mila as well.
Whatever, what probably we are, we what am I trying to say? This development, I think what really needs to change is probably secondary school and further education. And I think primary education in many ways already works similarly to this, that you see a lot of in primary, especially in infant school, you see a lot of the children move at their own pace. They choose what they do. They work on this. The teacher will guide them and tell them. And I think it happens.
So we're
a
arguing
lot.
in some ways for a continuation of that. Is it fair to say that in some institutions at the moment, with the impact and the prevalence and the importance in terms of the critical friend judgment that perhaps Ofsted might apply to junior schools, for example, that things like the Key Stage 2 SATs, to an extent the 11 plus or entrance exam in independent school, has meant that the model of kind of one pace fits all preparation for tests, making sure they know what they need to know, has actually shifted backwards into primary school and into junior school. And you see far more of that experience in the upper junior school areas. I've certainly seen that with my children.
Yes.
And yeah, I think there's an issue there as well.
Yes, I mean, I wonder how also the key stage key stage 1 tests is going to mean something similar with, of course,
just to clarify that we're going to be testing 6 and 7-year-olds on their ability to spell and do sums. Yeah,
exactly, with a need to spell words that they may not have used ever in their life and that they might not need to spell for another few years. Will that have an impact and make the what? I would say a classroom which actually it was a nice classroom, it was a nice environment. Will it make it more regimented and take a step back into the traditional classroom? I don't know. Let's hope not.
Okay, let's have Mike back on and let's have him back on. And the thing I'd say there, Mike, I mean, my key hope and my intent is that it will be a self-paced, self-directed learning environment where your daughter can study in any direction, obviously with guidance and support and brilliant resources around her, and in a rhythm which suits her as the individual human being that she must be proud to be.
That sounds good. I think she's excited about that.
Yeah, I bet she is.
Well,
she's looking around wide-eyed. I think she's looking forward to getting to school if it's going to be like that.
Is food coming up?
Yeah, she's also dribbling. I don't know if that's a sign of anything, but it could just be could just be her age.
I think that's sort of the impressiveness of my vocal range, Mike, that's caused that.
I think.
Yeah. And what's bedtime for Mila on a weeknight, mate? How does that work?
There hasn't really been one up until this week, and then it could be any time between now and about 11 o'clock.
I see. Oh, that's good, mate.
Still in that stage.
And look, listen up, pal. We appreciate you calling in as well, and we hope that's going to hopefully encourage others to do so in this stream or in other streams. Anything else you wanted to ask, or any shout outs you wanted to give while you're on, pal?
I don't think any shout outs necessarily, but yeah, it's not that scary to phone up and just be involved in the conversation. So yeah, right. if you're watching, pick up the phone and get involved and ask a question. Yeah,
that would be great. And look, I mean, we can't absolutely force. We can't force people to come and take part. Well, the only thing I'd say on it, Mike, and I'd be interested in your view of this, is that we're willing to have these conversations. We're willing to put ourselves out there. It'd be nice for people to respond and to come and get involved. I know it kind of feels a little bit weird sometimes, but let's generate the conversation. Let's elevate the conversation. One of the things I'd say, for example, about like the Twitter sphere and the Twitter space, I think it's been really great for so many of us. Maybe me more than anyone actually. But one of the fundamental flaws, hi Mila, by the way, you do sound really cute there. One of the really fundamental flaws of that Twitter model is that everybody agrees with one another. Everyone reinforces one another and says, yes, that's a great idea, or isn't that a great thing? Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. We've got to discuss things. There's nothing wrong with debating. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. Mm-hmm. From disagreement can come clear understanding. You know, it's good. I'm going to quote someone I heard say this recently. It's good to listen to some people. Sometimes good to listen to people you don't agree with, and I think that would be really positive.
It's funny that happens in education, because if you look at sort of political tweets, everyone disagrees with it, but it comes to education and everyone will say, oh yeah, oh yes, definitely. It's yeah.
Well, Michael and Mila, we'll let you sign off, you two, and we really appreciate you phoning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Pleasure. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Well, I'll be on Twitter for the rest of this chat, so anybody wants Twitter, I'll be there.
Top man, really appreciate it, and regards to Hannah, give Mila a little pat on the head or cuddle for us, whatever's appropriate.
Okay.
All right, mate. All right. Catch up soon. Take care.
See you later, Matthew.
Marta. Bye.
Bye.
So that's our first call. How exciting! We've had our first ever call in. How surprising it was a member of our own team. Who would have thought it? There you go. Listen, we're doing our utmost here to bring relevance to people, and I think it's nice. I think it's nice to be able to generate this conversation. And one of the things I was going to say, actually, Marta, I mean, I don't know if this is the perfect moment to say it, but one of the things I would encourage people to consider is, if you've got something to say which you think people would value to hear, come and sit in here with us as well, and come and be part of the conversation. Sit in the office with us, and let's discuss it.
Yeah, that would be.
I'd like to learn from people in that environment.
Yes,
we've got two really interesting people lined up for what you might loosely call a chat or an interview. It'd be nice to get a few more of those. It's nice to sit here. We treat you. We get you cold and hot drinks. We might even feed you. We give you a pretty cute set of headphones too, and you've got a posh old microphone to speak into. So yeah.
And I would say, I mean, I would welcome, of course, people who agree with us or who agree with what we're doing. That would be good. That would be great. But also, if you completely disagree, if you think completely different, why not come? Let's talk about it, and let's see each other's point of view. Yeah. That would be really interesting.
Look, I agree. I am very open to having colleagues here who have a completely different view to me. I just see it as learning, an opportunity to hear a different way of seeing things, a different way of understand things, and to grow and to learn as an individual through those conversations. There's nothing here which is a closed book or would be restrictive of that. So we're very keen to engage in that conversation with people. So let's have a look what's happening on Twitter. I bet it's absolutely flying on there.
I would say we are. What's it called? I forgot.
We're probably
now.
trending, right?
Yeah, exactly, trending. That's what I was thinking. It's on fire. It's absolutely on fire.
Yeah, it's on fire. Well, there you go. So look, Martha, let's move it on. I mean, what's the plan for us as a team? We have this classroom model. We've published Education Reimagined. It's been read thousands of times. It's been read thousands of times already by people in the sector, educators. I know we've also had a number of parents have commented to us about how much they like the model for their children as well. What are we trying? What's the next stage for us here, Martha? What's going to be happening, which allows us to move this classroom model further onwards and develop it into more of a reality to more people?
Well, I would say the first step is the UK tour that's taking place at the beginning of July.
Yep.
And that's an unbelievable opportunity for us to bring the classroom model into schools.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Communicate it, show it, and see how it works, and to show that it works and that it is a good model.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I in many ways, I'm terrified about the tour. You know, we're seriously putting our necks on the line there. We're literally going out saying we're going to demonstrate the future classroom model. I mean, it almost invites derision.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that it's very easy for us to shy away from these things and to keep them hidden and to not develop them. But we're putting out there. We're putting out there for free at significant cost to us. We're going to 10 schools the week starting 3rd of July, ending 7th of July. 10 different schools for 10 demonstrations all over the UK. I mean, Marta, I wonder if you can actually
look at the list. Look at the
no.
locations.
If you put my computer screen up onto the
Sure.
screen, if you put number 3 up, that would be great.
Yep.
And look, I mean, I'll just put the tour information up here. Just bear with me a second. Look, we've got these locations here which you can go to and come and have a look at what we're doing. You know, on the Monday morning, we're down here. We're in Worthing College, Monday morning of the 3rd of July. We then travel up to Burnt Mill Academy in Harlow in Essex, which you could come along to there. In fact, I think that one's full at the moment. On the Tuesday morning, we really need people to attend this. The Deeping School in Peterborough. You people in Cams, the Fens, almost in the East Midlands, whatever you call it, you lot need to sort that out because we really need some more people to come to the classroom demonstration. The morning of Tuesday, 4th of July, you will be a student of ours in our classroom and we'll demonstrate that classroom to you. Please sign up. You see here, mypexam.org, the UK tour. Go and get yourself signed up. Again, that afternoon, we're at North Kesteven School near Lincolnshire. The following Wednesday morning, St Lawrence Academy in Scunthorpe. We're then up to Durham on the Wednesday afternoon. We've got a really full session there. We then come down on the Thursday morning to Ashton Community Science Academy in Preston. We're then down into Cheshire at Fallabroom Academy here, hosted by Hannah at Fallabroom Academy in Cheshire. We're then down on the Friday morning in central Birmingham at Joseph Chamberlain Sixth Form College. And then finally, we finish the tour down at Lydia Park Academy on the Friday afternoon in Swindon. Look, whatever you think of our model, come along and be part of it and take part in it with us because we're going to really put ourselves out there and we're taking a massive risk to go and do that. You know, come and watch us kind of flounder and fail if that's what you think is going to happen. And if that's the attraction, then feel free to come and see that if that's what that's what's going to attract you in, because we're going to try our darndest to give you a great experience there.
But also, I would say, come with an open mind.
I agree.
Come with, don't have any preconceptions. And I've heard about this. Is it, don't just. I don't know why I did this voice. But come with an open mind, and also, know that. We're there to also listen to you and discuss things with you and chat. So if you've got any questions, if you've got any objections, if you've got any worries, come and let us know, and we'll talk about it. James, you seem to.
I'm agitated.
Yes, I know.
I'm excited. How would you describe this? I'm aroused.
Oh.
We're calling Romania.
Okay.
So let's call Octavian. Let's see if Octavian answers the phone. Put it up for us because.
Okay.
We get that somewhat exciting foreign ringtone, which is always a nice feeling thing when you ring someone up.
One.
Yeah, that's nice.
Hello.
Octavian.
Hello.
Octavian, can you hear us?
Hello.
Octavian, can you hear us?
Yeah, but not very great.
Okay, I'm going to try and speak as loud as I can.
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Can you call back? I don't know. It
I'll
sounds really.
I'll call you back,
I
Octavian.
don't know. It doesn't sound good.
I'll call you back, Octavian. We'll try one more time.
See, that,
The pleasures.
that
the pleasures.
foreignness doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't always work. But let's try Octavian a slightly different way. I'm going to try him again. So let's see if we can get him. He's a good guy to talk to. I can tell people that, and he'll give us a bit of an insight as well into how he sees things. He's kind of I did speak to him about this, and he's made me promise that I won't ask him really technical things about education. So I'll try really hard not to.
No, but you could ask him really technical things on other things.
No, that is true. Let's see how this one works.
Are we?
Yeah, it's ringing right now, Martha.
Yeah?
So feel free to turn that up and
I think it's important.
Hello?
Hey, Octavian, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear much better right now.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
Hello, Octavian.
Fine. Hi, Martha. How are you?
Little bit late there, no?
Yeah, a bit. Almost 11.
So listen, I know you didn't want to be put on the spot, but I'm going to do it anyway. Tell me a little bit about your experience of being in schools in Romania and also being a student at the moment. What's the dominant model there? How do classrooms operate there?
Right. So there are kind of two different experiences being in a classroom at the moment, at almost 30, than what it was in school. Well, I don't really know how school is in UK, so I can't really compare with how it is in there. But basically, you would have. I mean, it's kind of the don'ts you expressing here, although it's not that bad. So basically, you'd have it, a teacher just having with a whiteboard and explaining at the whiteboard whatever you have to explain. Now, again, you have teachers, and some of them would bring some other material, some of them would talk more and bring you some support on material, some of them would, I don't know, just teach in class. It depends from teacher to teacher.
Yeah.
So
and do you in classrooms in Romania would you argue at the moment that it's a very traditional model? I mean, one of the interesting things I picked out of what you just said there is that teachers teach. I can't remember if you said it a whiteboard or a blackboard. Do you mean they literally kind of write onto the board and the students follow along?
Well, as you can imagine, it depends a lot on the class. So basically, if you'd be in math, you'd have to write on blackboard or on the whiteboard. And if you'd be in, I don't know, science, again, you'd have to write. If you'd do something as English or something else, you would probably speak more. And, I mean, in some cases, there was an interactive experience where the teachers would interact with the students more, and some less. But yeah, I would see this as more of an experience from teacher to teacher, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what's the role in the class? This is featured a little bit in our conversation. What would you say is the role in the classroom, in your experience of classrooms in Romania, of things like technology? I mean, how would you see how do teachers in Romania kind of use technology broadly in the classroom?
Well, you have to remember, it's been 10 years since since I was in high school, and now I am right now taking some classes at the university, but it is a technical university. You kind of have to carry your laptop with you. But I do a lot of math in university, and the model is still like, okay, you have the whiteboard, and you take a Sharpie and you start writing on it. Because it's math, and you have to, you have to do it.
And is it all the students following that explanation all in one go?
No, I mean, it's logically you don't.
Okay.
I mean, especially if it's been like, in my case, for example, it's been a 10 years gap since I was, since I started math, and then I went back to university, and I kind of have some gaps that I have to cover, and I find myself not following up with what's written on the whiteboard, and I think that's quite normal, because basically what I would do in this scenario, if I would be a teacher, I would try to find out what's the class average and kind of keep the conversation in there. So to make sure pretty much as many students as possible are following up with me, but you can't really keep it on the lower level, because then the ones that already know what's going on are going to be bored, and you can't really go high level because the others are not going to follow up. So basically, in these kind of scenarios, I think the teachers are doing what they can.
Yeah.
I mean, the best they can.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important message. I mean, in many ways, we're being provocative and somewhat critical of the way we're describing education. But I think it's really important what we're criticizing is a systemic model of education. Mm-hmm. It's not a criticism of an individual teacher behavior. I think that's absolutely essential. One of the great hopes we have is the potential prowess and the impact that a truly enabled teaching profession could have. And I think you've summarized that really well. And Octavia, I have one more question for you, if I may. You're involved with us on a technical level. You're helping us build the EverLearner.com, which will be in real full production mode in the coming weeks and months. And what's your aspiration for that? What do you hope will be the potential impact of that platform?
Well, I think, and it's not like just useful, wishful thinking. It's I hope and I think and I know it's gonna have an impact. I mean, the main thing is, well, so basically, we're gonna have a lot of resources for students to learn at their own pace, and I think that's gonna be an important thing. And the main idea is we're trying to build the user experience that's as flawless as possible. Yeah. So we're trying to make it so easy that, I mean, when you say a good user experience, you just mean natural. Yeah. So if you get in there and it feels natural to be in there and to start learning in there and to, not look for things, to just know it's there, then it makes sense. Now, I mean, logically, there's always something to improve and nothing can be perfect. But the main idea is we're trying to build something much better than what it is at the moment.
That's it. And I think that's a really interesting point. We're trying to build something which facilitates a better systemic learning model than is in place systemically right now. And I think in many ways that will be seen as a very, very, very significant and aspirational, and some people might even see it as an impossible thing to try and achieve, but well, we're going to try and do it anyway, right?
And and I don't know, impossible. I don't know. It might seem impossible, but the thing is, you have to aspire. You have to set your objectives high. You can't say, "Oh well, it's going to be the same as it is now, but it's just slightly different." No, that's pointless.
One of the things I said to somebody, I actually said it on a live stream this morning, is whoever dreams small? Why would we ever dream for something small? I think that's a really important message. You know, we talk about things of, not so much in this conversation, but we can talk about some things which are very, very elevated, convoluted notions of even societal change. But I can't help but to think on that level, because why would I stop myself going from that point? Why do I not have the right or the place to try and achieve that? And I think that's an important message for people to hear. But Octavian, we'd really like to
sleep now.
Yeah, he got the ball. Yeah, I went on the mother. We want to say a big thank you to Octavian, and we'll speak to you tomorrow, no doubt.
Okay.
Have a good
Perfect.
evening.
Thank you,
Octavian. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Good evening.
Bye.
Okay, and we do have another call coming in. I'm gonna call this colleague. The message came in. I'm going to read the whole thing before I read. So the message came in like this. Hi, James. I think this is from a colleague called Anthony Metcalf. Hi, James. I think the principal has lots of sense. I want to create this as a PE teacher, as my resources are under my desk and I share 4 classrooms. How would you encourage lots of teachers following suit? Also, I'm ahead of year and I feel that this environment should be created in general in an old common room situation, but as a lunchtime, break time learning environment. Cheers, Anthony. Well, I mean, a fascinating message, first of all. Mm-hmm. I've messaged Anthony back and told him we're going to ring him. So let's give him a try. So if you just turn the sound down for the time being. So we're going to give Anthony a little call, and we'll see if he's happy to talk that through with us. So we're just giving him a little ring. Let's see if we can get Anthony on.
Hello.
Hi, Anthony. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hi, Anthony. You there?
Okay.
Hi, Anthony. Good to hear you. We got a little bit of crack on the line. Let's see how we get on for a few moments. Look, Anthony, first of all, fascinating message. Tell us a little bit about that space you're looking at adapting. It's an old common room. Tell us a bit about it.
I've got a unique situation whereby I think that we use it as we've got a sixth form at our school, it's a sixth form study, and effectively it's a space whereby the sixth formers in our school are basically trying to learn an environment. There's a ability to live in it. You've got desks all in uniform, and it's effectively an environment whereby the kids actually don't learn in there. It's a quiet environment normally. Ones that do want to work in a quiet environment, but they want to move on and go to the IT suite, or they want to disappear just around school. So
I see. Look, and see, we're getting quite a lot of crackle from you. Please don't please don't ring off or anything. If it carries on, we might try and give you another call back on another line. I'm going to answer that point a little bit first of all. I mean, first of all, the thing I would say both to Anthony and more broadly that is one of the first classrooms I ever used in this blended learning environment was actually a canteen. So I was fortunate because in the school I was working at the time, this was with the Year 9 group just going into Year 10, starting their GCSE experience. They just renovated this kind of 2-tier nice, it's a school very near here. Who knows, there might be some people who know which one I'm talking about. But they just renovated this canteen area. And basically it was just an open space with good Wi-Fi. That's why we went there. And it had lots of seating space. Generally speaking, during lessons, it wasn't used. In fact, it was barely used at all. And it was a nice place to be. It just felt kind of nice to be in there. So what we did is we set a learning environment up in there where we only had like 30 kids because it was one class I happened to be working with. But we could have easily had 60, 70, 150 in that room with the appropriate number of adults, of course, teacher, master teacher, junior teacher, supporting teachers. And students completely self-paced their development through tutorials, quizzes, tasks, note sheets, activity sheets, interactions, and they paced that through, and they had to meet certain targets by a certain time. Now, we still did lessons together where, of course, we did things like practical development because we have to do that in PE. We exemplified things by practicing because it was the topic lent itself to that. But I would say that is a really feasible idea, like an old common room space. I mean, ultimately, the key word there is space. It's malleable. It's relatively large. It can be used in a plethora of ways. And I would definitely encourage a possibility that could be used as a blended learning environment. The only thing I would maybe advise, Anthony, without knowing the situation in detail, is we always argue that the role of the teacher is central to the efficiency and the effectiveness of that model. So if it's just a sort of a go-to study space on your own, kind of out of class in between lessons, there might be some limitations on that because the interaction between the learner and the teacher in terms of reaching those targets, getting to the learning points that are necessary and required,
and setting the target.
And setting the targets requires that interaction.
Of course. Yeah, I have a big plan if I had for it. It's whether the people at school wish to listen to it. I'm the head of Year 11 at school, and it's really important that, for me, we find that the kids, it's the environment they create outside of school. It's they live at 3 forms. That can go away, having good experience in schools, good learning environment for them outside of school, so they don't feel like they're picking up and starting again when they go to lessons day by day, week by week. And if that can be a more quiet space, that's a good place for them to work on past papers or going to the websites and looking at using their resources. And that's one good idea. But then they already do that because it's a natural learning thing. So I propose it. I propose it for them to do it. It's just up in the air at the moment as to whether they can convert the space or want to convert the space. Yeah. But it just seems taking the model of what you've been talking about there and providing 3 or 4 areas that are, I call it independent learning areas, I suppose, because I'm crying out for that understanding of where we are in the present age, where we're. We're helped by, we're hindered by the internet in some respects because it's a go-to resource for the kids to just cut corners on doing work. It's a great resource to find out information instantly if you want to go down that line.
And I agree with you on that. That's always that battle, isn't it? Do they drift off onto the BBC website or whatever the equivalent is? There's always that battle. I would say one thing. Obviously, we don't excuse that or that we don't condone that in any way, shape, or form. But I also do that in my work. It's kind of human. Yeah. I'm not. We're not talking about encouraging that behaviour.
It's the world we live in that respect, and I feel that probably the environment we're creating in school should be one that they can go home and replicate, because they probably, if they've got the majority of the same resources, and it's the ones that they actually feel comfortable with themselves. When they get bored, it's because they're not used to it, I would suggest. So.
And listen, one thing I'm definitely going to suggest, Anthony, and please let me mention something. I massively appreciate you calling in this evening. Not least because it's the evening, and I'm sure you've got other stuff you could be doing. But the other thing is
I'm watching some hockey at the same time.
Oh, God, man, that's there you go. But what I would say, Anthony, is that you're the first call we've received that we didn't set up. So we massivly appreciate it. And
I noticed that before. I sent a little tweet message just out of I follow you because I'm a PE teacher myself, and I do follow whatever students using your resources. But I have this situation where I'm looking at the bigger picture, trying to alter my daily environment. We've just been doing a school policy about trying to improve our teaching and learning, and I've come away from it feeling like I've not learned so much. But I thought, well, this environment is the bit. If every single department was trying to create an environment that's more student-led, I think we'd get better outcomes. But
and one of the interesting things is there that once you have that outcome, which we call the EverLearner School, we've got published guidance on this already, and I'll mention that again in a second. Yeah. But once you get that, the very notion of a department itself really melts away as almost like an assumption. It's not a rigid structure or a geographical location, unless, of course, there's specialist equipment like a science laboratory or a sports hall or a swimming pool. Of course, then that's a very specialized location. But really, departments and subject specialisms are primarily an agreement between people that these things are all separate. And when you've got a model where direction and pace is determined by the learner, those things can very much merge. But one thing I'd like to offer you, Anthony, if it's okay, I mean, one of the things that we can provide you is we have this 26-page publication we're just about to get a load of hard copies of as well. And if you'd be willing to, Anthony, one of the things that you said there is about convincing other people. We'd like to get a copy of that in the post to you as well. We tend to offer it to people online only at the moment, but we'd like to get a copy of that so we can get it into the post for you. You can share it, discuss it with colleagues at school, go through it together, highlight things for people, literally point at the thing and say, look, this model is in place and is possible, and see if we can get see if you can get some better quality conversations going there at the school. So if you would be willing to, Anthony, if it is agreeable to you, if you'd be willing to text your address. Sorry, go on.
Because my efforts on around 25 bullet points to them that probably got congested by the chaos of the school working day and life, and you go, oh, change this, and then it gets a little bit diluted because people think you're on a bit of a mission to do something major. Well, you're on a mission to try and improve things. You're not trying to do something just to have your own swan song or do something to benefit you professionally. You're doing it to actually benefit the kids, which is why you're there. So,
I mean, Anthony, if you were here, I'd give you a cuddle for that. So we could.
That's the bottom line of it.
Well, that's the thing. Well, look,
you take it by results and all that kind of stuff. That's part of everything is the kids achieve and enjoy is what that's why they go to schools.
There's no question there's a lot of pressures, but I sometimes see that if you think about it's maybe a nice metaphor to think about. If you think about who owns the school, we often view it as owned by governors or head teacher or business or teachers or whatever. The owners of the school are the learners and the community, full stop. And we are there to protect it, we are there to provide it, and we are there to put it at the centre of the community and the hub at the central feature that enables learning for all people within that community. And I see the teaching profession and the governance of that. What it really should be is almost like an embracing, supportive structure which facilitates that right for every person to own that school and the experience in that school. Not, if as it were, like the gatekeepers, the guardians of what we let in and what we don't let in. And I think there's some problems there, but we'd really like to send that off to you, Anthony. So if you would be kind enough, I don't have a better way of doing this, if you would be kind enough to text me your school details, I'd happily get that sent off to you if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Can I ask you a question?
Fire away.
Just in relation to the key part as a teacher. I'm located across 4 classrooms at this present moment, and I've been trying to look, because we've only got 1 classroom, and we've just moved, well, actually just moved 4 years ago to Liverpool, because we've done an A-level for 18 years. But we moved away from a point. And in doing that, I've been trying to move the times, the department forward in some respects, but I end up with a lot of resources all by myself, and sharing it, putting it out there, putting it on the internet.
Anthony, I'm going to. Anthony, sorry to interrupt you, my friend. I'm really sorry. We're really struggling to hear you at the moment. So listen, what I'm going to suggest we do, what I'm going to suggest we do, Anthony. Please don't feel in any way, shape, or form I want to or would like to cut you off at all. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if we can pick this conversation up tomorrow. Are you happy to provide a couple of times that you and I can speak about that in a bit more detail?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly. I mean, I've got lots of ideas. If you're in multiple classrooms, there's numerous things I happily talk to you about with regard to that. But for now, I'm going to say a massive thank you, Anthony. You're already a hero of mine, in my opinion, because you've been willing to call in. And do text in your school details for me, and I'm going to give you a call tomorrow if that's okay, so we can follow up on this. All right.
Good.
All right, Tom. Enjoy the hockey, my friend. All the best.
Cheers. Bye.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
I feel really bad, but I was really actually struggling to comprehend what the sound was. So
I was hoping that you, being a native speaker, you understood better.
No, I didn't. So look, we have a question on Twitter, which we have to finish fairly soon because both of us have got children to get home to and need to be put to bed. But we have a question here from Big Stew again on PE Tutor, and the question is this: what barriers do you see teachers of all subjects having to overcome to successfully implement this model? So.
Right. Can I say the first barrier?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to. But I think the first barrier is themselves, their own preconceptions, what I mentioned before.
Maybe their conditioning might be a better way of putting it.
Yeah. No? Things like training, habit. I think that is probably the first barrier to overcome. That I think you need to go right. Okay. I'm going to listen. I'm going to think exactly. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to give it a go. And how, and when you see a possible hurdle, rather than find more and more reasons to justify the fact that yes, it is a hurdle, to find does this have a solution? So I think that is probably the first barrier that that anyone needs to overcome.
I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head, really. I also think there's some structural points in there as well, though. But first of all, one of the key factors that one needs to do, or one needs to find a solution for, is to be able to take what would typically be the transmission of information, the one-pace-fits-all teaching, the PowerPoint type session, those kind of things, and to be able to replace them with a self-paced learning environment of at least the same quality.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can help people right now in some subjects, not yet all. Longer term, we have absolute intent to do exactly that, of some idea of all. It's hard to say all because there's a lot of disparate, very broad range of courses and qualifications and subjects. But without that, it's very hard to achieve this model. Now, we are really interested in speaking to people who would like to work with us as maths teachers, science teachers, history teachers, geography teachers, who would like to contribute to the EverLearner.com as the primary teacher of those subjects. These are paid roles. It's very, very, very worthwhile for colleagues to do this in addition to their teaching job, or even instead. I think the majority will want to do it as a supplementation. And finally, in terms of other barriers, I think people need to get over. I think they need to look around them for support and infrastructure. And that infrastructure, as Anthony alluded to, is things like the classroom space. It's also the support and the in principle agreement from those that line managers, that guide us, that in theory are our superiors and leaders. And I think being transparent and honest with those colleagues about what you'd like to do and what you intend to do is a really important first step. And beyond that, use whatever structures are in the school in order to move that forward. Now, for example, if your school is going very much down the road of, action research, then build a project based on these ideas in the action research model that the school is implementing. That is a way of getting over that first hurdle. But let us be really clear as well. If we look back at the classroom model, a second model, I don't know if you're able to put it up for us a second. Let's be honest about this classroom. If we look really carefully at what's in this classroom, it's desks, it's chairs, it's shelves, and a handful of cheap devices, as cheap as you can make them, because you only need a screen and Wi-Fi.
Really simple.
It's really simple. This is an incredibly cheap learning environment. And
95% of the
structure's
there. If not 100% of what you need is already there.
Exactly.
You already have it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So the physical structures, okay, you might need, as Anthony was saying there, you might need the flexibility of a space which is yours, or that you can, or even a trolley which you can wheel around. I used to do that in one of my classrooms that I worked like this. But the classroom itself has the infrastructure is already there. I mean, how many of us do not work in a classroom which has got desks and chairs in it, for example? Okay, Wi-Fi might need a bit of conversation and persuasion to get that as sharp, but I think that's improving. And cheap devices, and if I come over here, notice we have not got an interactive whiteboard over here. Get that thing on eBay. You don't need it. It's not interactive for a start. I mean, why is it called that?
Most of the time, it's not even properly calibrated.
There is.
You write on it, and you write 3 miles away. It appears somewhere in some school.
Yeah. So it's a pretty cheap model. So I would certainly say that expense is not a barrier. Of course, you might need to invest in services to get the teaching in place, the online teaching. But let's be honest. I mean, that in the vast majority of cases, that's also a matter of managing resources and can be affordable. So I think there's an ideological barrier, there's a support barrier, and then there's a sort of an experimental barrier that you have to go give it a go. We've got this rule in the way we think about this, that we say 0 collateral damage. You must not implement this model if it risks the output and the potential success of a single individual learner. You have to build it gradually and deliberately and put it in place in a way that guarantees that nobody will be detrimentally affected by the shift.
And also, I would say, accept that, it might take a few goes for the students to, embrace it, understand it, and work in the way they should. Because if they are used to being in classrooms where all they do is be quiet, listen, when you're told, then do the work. Now you're told to work in groups. Now, if they are being told all the time what they need to do and they are expected to work almost as robots, then having that relative is not freedom, because they're still, but having that work, ability, that possibility of working at their own pace and working in different things depending on what it might take a little bit to getting used to. But once, if you accept that, then, the sky's the limit, really.
The sky's the limit. And look, please be encouraged, anyone that's taking part in this. This is the start of the conversation. We are going nowhere. We are going to be pushing this conversation and a much broader conversation as hard as we can, and we're going to be trying to get out as much as we can. We really want to engage with people. We really want to hear what people have to say. We think there's real relevance in this model. We're also going to change the model. I mean, this is our model now in 2017. I think it's important to say we're really open to the possibility this could have significant change as we learn, as the model grows, as we experiment and practice.
Things evolve and change, and
and to improve it. And I have a request, and I think it comes on the back of Stuart's Big Stu, sorry, it's question PE tutor. It comes on the back of this. Please analyse and be critical of our model. Please, we request it of everybody to do that. Please do it. We want to hear those criticisms. But please, please, please also apply the same rigorous critical process to the model you're currently using. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not reasonable to criticize anything that's new and to never analytically, and robustly and analytically go over and investigate the model you're currently using. And we just ask that both sides are critiqued. And then whatever your conclusion is, you can know it's a balanced conclusion and you move forward with to whatever that is with confidence. We thank everybody for taking part in the session. I don't think it's broken any records in terms of viewership, Marta. Although I'm quite happy with our six likes and no dislikes.
Well, I
might be tempting fate on that one, because if it was me, I'd now dislike it. But yeah, definitely. But I think I've actually really enjoyed it. Though I'm a little bit worried because I'm late home and I promised I wouldn't be. But we want to thank
it.
It's been nice. No, it's been fun. I think. I think we maybe do it again. I'm looking forward to maybe when there's 3 or 4 of us having the conversation.
Yeah. If we fit in here, then brilliant.
But to Mike, to Mila, to P Tutor, to Octavian, to Anthony especially.
Yes, definitely.
I want to say an absolutely gigantic thank you to you guys, and let's just hope that this is the start of something that we can push further and develop in the days and the weeks to come. So I'm going to finish the stream. I think I do that by hitting this red button, and I will say,
give it a go. Give it a go and see what happens.
A very good evening to one and all. Thank you so much. Sleep well and look after yourselves. Take care.
Have a good evening. Bye.